Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell Classic Workshop. Those who've been following the channel will remember that we have this Ford Capri in, a 280, the very last of the line in Britain. 280 Brooklands. It got called that because of its wonderful dark turquoise, Brooklands green, to use Ford speak, metallic paintwork. We've been doing some work on this car. The big ticket feature of this car is that it's done 5,500 miles from new only, and it's all original. So we've been doing a lot of work on recommissioning this car. We've been looking at the brakes, even preserving the original parts, rather than replace the front calipers, which are easily available. Substitutes there, not the original items, so we actually chose to have those refurbished. Well, here we have the Capri brake master cylinder, which was manufactured by ATE, that famous German brake company, and you've repainted this.
Yep.
Which looks beautiful.
Yeah, engine enamel paint, just so it's strong enough for the engine bay and any brake fluid.
Hopefully, absolutely. We did indeed, I mean, the bore on this is absolutely perfect. There isn't a mark on it. But what did you find when you actually took the master cylinder apart?
Well, first of all, when we were bleeding the brakes, we found that when we were pumping the pedal at the front, the brake fluid was squirting up onto the top here, which was showing us that these seals here were most likely failed and allowing fluid from the front cylinder to move to the rear.
Right.
Putting pressure there.
But the good news is, I mean, you also saw some white deposits in the bore, didn't you?
Yeah, so I imagine that's from where it's been sat for all the time. Obviously, being a low mileage car, it's not had use for some years.
I would agree, yes. So these little blighters here, we've got a rebuild kit. We can change all those, and you can build it back up. Obviously, we'll just give it a once over as you do it to make sure it's all safe, because this is an extreme safety item. But that is looking good. I mean, to be able to give that a new lease of life is great, really. It's the original part going back on the car.
Yeah, it's definitely better than getting some aftermarket part.
Yes.
And you're changing a very original car in the first place just by doing that.
Of course. And we've also had the original brake calipers refurbished instead of new ones. We got some new ones. We weren't happy with them. Even though they were perfectly all right, they weren't exactly right for the car. So we've had the originals refurbished. This is the final link. We've also put, I think, new flexi hoses on it.
We've had new flexi hoses all over. We've put new shoes on the rear with the original discs. Original drums, sorry, new discs, new pads, so it's had a whole brake overhaul, really.
And also the other lovely thing is the reservoir. Quite often on classic cars, reservoirs like coolant reservoirs, brake reservoirs, screen wash, they can actually fade quite drastically and go sort of brown coloured, and this still looks beautiful and almost like new. That does not look 40 years old. And that is very unusual, actually. They normally do fade and just go off. But again, it's just a delight to be able to put so many original parts back on the car. So very good. Brakes, suspension, the strut tops here, where the McPherson strut comes up on the suspension under the bonnet here. The strut tops were actually partly just gummed up through lack of use. We've managed to free those off so that the steering behaves correctly, it self-centers. Yeah, and we've spent some time getting the engine right, because although it is very much a child in mileage terms, it's most definitely not a child in time terms. So we've spent some time, we've dedicated some time to making the engine as smooth as it can possibly be. And some of that was actually setting up the valve clearances and the injection system and the injectors, etc., for smooth, lovely performance. Well, James, I must congratulate you. I don't quite know how you managed to do this.
Nor me, to be honest.
But this is an original specification cork gaskets. We've actually purchased a couple of new ones, which were remarkably easy to get. But that is, I have to assume that is the original Ford factory gasket from 40 years ago. And it's come off in one piece.
Yeah.
That does not often happen.
No, I was surprised myself, to be honest.
They normally break up and half sticks on the head mating surface and half sticks in there, so well done you. This has got the original wax preservative over the top of the paint. We are not going to alter this, we are not going to do anything, we're going to leave it exactly as it is, because apart from anything else, it's got the original manufacturing stickers on the back of the cover, which we are in no way going to jeopardise or remove, because I think there are probably not many Capris around with this in this condition. So that's all good. We've got my trusty Haynes Workshop manual here, which James has dug out. And the valve clearances, to my mind, I wasn't happy with them. They were a bit wide. So the inlet is 0.35 millimetres clearance and the exhaust is 0.4. So we're just going to have a look at this now. This is the single exhaust port here, and this is the Siamese one where you have two exhaust valves. And obviously at any one time, there are only certain valves we can adjust. That is fully open. The push rod goes down to the camshaft in the middle of the engine, pushes this up. The rocker, this is in the days when rocker cover gaskets actually were rocker covers were rocker covers. Later on, when camshafts on the top of cylinder heads came in, they should be called cam covers, not rocker covers. But a lot of people still called them rocker covers. But there we are. So I'm just going to have a look at that one. Again is open, so there is obviously no clearance there because there's pressure on that.
I've set this cylinder number 5 to the open position. Okay,
hear that tapping noise? By the time that's amplified through the engine, that makes a nice racket. So we have our 0.4 millimetre feeler gauge here, and that is too loose, far too loose. So already we've identified a source of noise. So we take our 11 millimetre spanner, here's one we chose earlier, and we simply tighten that. And of course, because it's been so many years having not been turned, that's a little bit tighter, but I'd want to go just a fraction more. There we are, and that's it. Perfect. That alone, still noisy, but by the time it warms up, that will quieten down. So already we have one tappet. There's another one there, another exhaust tappet which is closed, and again I can just move that around completely freely. So we just tighten that up, tiny bit at a time, still too wide. Tiniest adjustments, still a bit wide. That this is all good because it will make, the last thing we want is the tappets to be tight, because that will cause the valves to burn. But that is very nice. So there's 2 of our 12 tappets adjusted. We get a clipboard with a piece of paper on it and a pen. We mark off which ones we've adjusted so that they've been done, and we just carry on the process. And I think the difference is going to be quite remarkable in this, James, and we'll put it back together. Yeah. With your nice original cork gaskets.
Yes.
There's no reason why they can't be reused because they're in beautiful condition. Yeah. So
I agree.
Just see if you can do the same with the other side.
Yeah.
No pressure.
That's the hard side. Everything's in the way.
Exactly. Well, we've now got the end result. So, I mean, let's put this into context. It wasn't bad before, but we want perfection, not too bad. And it sounds exactly as it should, but I'm hoping the mic can pick this up. There's a tiny little bit of tappet noise from the top of the engine. And I want that to go. So we had the before, which was not perfect, and now we have the after. So we can compare the two. We'll start with the before, and then we'll cut to this one. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. They shouldn't be like a hydraulic tapeted engine. They shouldn't be super quiet. They shouldn't be silent, let me put it. But there should be almost an even hiss from them. Ferrari, the likes of Ferrari 250 GTs and 330s from the 1960s, 275s, the valve gear, if it's adjusted properly on a single overhead cam Ferrari V12 from the 1960s-ish, the valve gear should hiss. It should be a constant hiss. And this is not quite there, but it's, you know, this is extremely sweet for a Ford Cologne V6, particularly on fast idle. It's just beginning to warm up now, and it will come down to idle speed. This is the auxiliary air valve here, which has a disc inside with a hole in it, and as it warms up, either by electrical current or by thermal convection from the engine just being actually bolted to the engine, it warms up and rotates the disc, and it actually cuts off the air supply. You can hear the revs are just gradually dropping, and this will come down nicely. If we just wait a minute or two, this is going to be super smooth at idle. And there we are. That actually is, as I mentioned earlier, that actually is getting on for a hissing noise now from the valve gear, because all 12 valves are exactly at the right clearance. That is purring like a pussycat now. It really is. Very, very sweet. Having done that, we can now take the car for a run on the road and see how everything is starting to come together. And this is very much in its infancy. I couldn't say the last time the car has been driven as much as it will be over the next 2 or 3 days. We're not going to pile massive miles on it, but we want the owner to get it back in as usable and as close to new condition as possible, whilst maintaining the originality. Where does that balance begin and end? I'm going to take this car out for a run now and just add to that 5,500 miles as little as possible, whilst trying to assess the car and just see if there's any more work needs to be done. Well, this is such a trip down memory lane. It really is. I did used to service some of these in the 1980s and 90s, the 2.8i Capris, also other models, but they're so small. This is a tiny car inside by modern car standards. I do recall the story, it comes straight back to mind, of a customer who I was going to check over a Ferrari 512 Berlinetta Boxer for him. This was in the late 80s, maybe about 1988, 89. He and his 2 sons, all of whom were at least as tall as I was, the 4 of us were crammed into this Capri 2.8i, and he did the deal. He bought the car on my recommendation, and we drove home, he and me in the Ferrari and his 2 sons in the Capri. But it's amazing the way these memories just come flooding back. We have an extremely wayward speedometer needle here, so we're going to have to investigate that. This is the type of thing, as I say this car has done 5,573 miles from new, which is astonishingly low, and the car is in amazing condition. This is 100% factory original paintwork, and we've done lots of things to the car. we've sent the calipers away for refurbishing, which have all been done, replated, etc. The original Ford calipers from new. We've reconditioned all the brakes. The original drums are still on the car with the Ford embossing on them. We've been right the way through this car, but where do you begin and end? The front suspension, the McPherson strut, which pivot under a top mounting, as it's called, on each side, were actually, the steering wasn't self-centering properly. So what we did was disconnect the track rod ends from the front suspension, so the steering rack became separate from the front struts, and I found that both front struts were actually very stiff to turn. Just with the weight off them and some penetrating oil, I just carefully gave them a little spray every so often. There'll be no wear in there at all, but it's just age, it's just one thing or another. So we did that, and it made a big difference actually. The steering is now self-centering beautifully. It really is. It's just these little things. With something like this, it's a process of elimination. And dare I say it, with a car as low mileage as this, when the owner gets it back, no matter how much we try and anticipate and foresee and mitigate for things happening, in the real world there probably will be other faults. But you know, a 5,000 mile old car that has been reconditioned as well as we can possibly do it. We try to anticipate as much as we can, but we want to keep the car as original as we can. This is a constant dilemma. It feels just so tight, this car, and so nice. We've put a different exhaust system on it. The standard exhaust is 1 3/4 inch, and this is 2 inch, so it's a slightly bigger system. And Alex had to do some repairs on the front part of the system on each side, the downpipes, because they're the original mild steel parts, and there was just one tiny hole. The rest of them was sound, but right at the bottom where the water gathers, and Alex has done an invisible repair on that. Absolutely beautiful work. You would not know it was there. It's such an interesting car to drive, this. It really is. I mean, no wonder Ford sold so many of these cars. They were just great. Again, that steering, just fingertip control really, and it self-centers beautifully now. Car tracking exactly as it should. Now that we've got T's and P's, it might be time to open the taps with that newly adjusted engine. Beautiful. Okay, by modern car standards, this is not a fast car. 0 to 60 in 7 point something seconds, 130 miles an hour, but it's not slow either. Just try that one more time. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. The gearbox is slick. It's the later 5-speed gearbox, of course. It's like driving a new Ford Capri 280. It really is. Just incredible. I'm going to pull over for a moment because we got a huge agricultural machine kicking up dust in front of us. And the engine is purring. Absolutely purring, steady at about 800 RPM. Exactly as it should be. The clutch on these had a ratcheting mechanism, a self-adjusting mechanism, two sort of round quadrants that meshed with each other, and that was they clicked as the cable stretched. And again, we've actually done a little bit of work freeing that off. It's now working beautifully, just in lovely condition. It's now driving as well as it looks, and that's saying something. It's a fantastically satisfying job. There's been all sorts of us involved in restoring this car. James, Corey, Pete, it's been a real team effort. And the way that engine pulls from low revs, It's not quite as torquey as the earlier Essex V6, but it's still got plenty of lugging power. The brake master cylinder has been a challenge on this. Just bleeding the brakes, a relatively simple operation. No ABS, again, has been quite tricky just to get the last bits of air out of it. But here we go. Absolutely lovely. Just beautiful, balanced handling. The way the car moves on the road. These were known for being tail happy at the time, and you can tell, but it's just a lovely classical front engine rear wheel drive car. You can, if you really want to, just balance the car on the throttle through corners, understeer, oversteer. I am very happy to sign this car off now, and it can go back to its owner, and I hope he is as delighted with it as I am. Well, I have to say that concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. Please subscribe. It does make a difference, and like. And we'll be back with something else very soon.